Welcome to another edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. Republican Senator Ted Cruz grilled Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg during a hearing yesterday about Instagram allegedly assisting pedophiles in accessing inappropriate child sexual content. I'm going to give you most of this questioning. It's quite amazing, this exchange between Senator Cruz and Zuckerberg. Officials in New York from all parties are lining up to demand that a bunch of thugs who are in our country illegally and believe they can assault New York police officers and get away with it be deported. Even Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul seems to reluctantly agree with them this time. Nikki Haley says as if Texas wants to secede from the nation, they should be allowed to do so. And the Biden administration is classifying some of the country's most elite and exclusive communities as low-income areas, making them eligible for electric vehicle charger subsidy programs. What better way to give our tax money away than to subsidize charging stations? You can join today's conversation, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line. Leave us a quick voice message, and your emails are welcome. Joey@joeyhudson.com.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Let's start with Texas Senator Ted Cruz yesterday during a Judiciary Committee hearing where Meta CEO, Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, if you didn't know, Mark Zuckerberg was on the hot seat. During the hearing, they talked about Instagram allegedly assisting pedophiles in accessing inappropriate child sexual content. I mean, it's just amazing to me to have listened to this. Senator Cruz referred to investigative reporting by the Wall Street Journal that exposed a number of pedophiles who have allegedly exploited Instagram's algorithms and networking features for predatory activities, this during the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on big tech and the online child sexual exploitation crisis. Cruz also presented a printed Instagram warning screen, had a big poster that he had up so that he could refer to it to Mr. Zuckerberg, that provides an option for people searching for child abuse material. Now listen to this. To view the content on the platform, and he pressed Zuckerberg on why this was allowed. Now here's the exchange between Senator Ted Cruz and Mark Zuckerberg. It's a little bit long, but you need to hear the entire exchange. And parents, grandparents, you need to be aware of what your children may be exposed to on Instagram, particularly and potentially on other social media sites. Listen closely.
Every parent I know, and I think every parent in America, is terrified about the garbage that is directed at our kids. I have 2 teenagers at home, and the phones they have are portals to predators, to viciousness, to bullying, to self-harm. And each of your companies could do a lot more to prevent it. Mr. Zuckerberg, in June of 2023, the Wall Street Journal reported that Instagram's recommendation systems were actively connecting pedophiles to accounts that were advertising the sale of child sexual abuse material. In many cases, those accounts appeared to be run by underage children themselves, often using code words and emojis to advertise illicit material. In other cases, the accounts included indicia that the victim was being sex trafficked. Now, I know that Instagram has a team that works to prevent the abuse and exploitation of children online. But what was particularly concerning about the Wall Street Journal expose was the degree to which Instagram's own algorithm was promoting the discoverability of victims for pedophiles seeking child abuse material. In other words, this material wasn't just living on the dark corners of Instagram. Instagram was helping pedophiles find it by promoting graphic hashtags, including hashtag pedwhore and hashtag preteen sex, to potential buyers. Instagram also displayed the following warning screen to individuals who were searching for child abuse material. These results may contain images of child sexual abuse. And then you gave users two choices: get resources or see results anyway. Mr. Zuckerberg, what the hell were you thinking?
All right, Senator. The basic science behind that is that when people are searching for something that is problematic, it's often helpful to, rather than just blocking it, to help direct them towards something that that could be helpful for getting them to get help.
In what, I understand get resources. In what sane universe is there a link for see results anyway?
Well, because we might be wrong. We try to trigger this warning, or we tried to, when we think that there's any chance that the results.
Okay, you might be
harmful.
wrong. Let me ask you: how many times was this warning screen displayed?
I don't know, but the
you don't know. Why don't you know?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. But
well, you know what, Mr. Zuckerberg? It's interesting you say you don't know it off the top of your head, because I asked it in June of 2023 in an oversight letter, and your company refused to answer. Will you commit right now to, within 5 days, answering this question for this committee?
We'll follow up on that.
Is that a yes? Not a will follow up. I know how lawyers write statements saying we're not going to answer. Will you tell us how many times this warning screen was displayed? Yes or no?
Senator, I'll personally look into it. I'm not sure if we have.
Okay, so you're refusing to answer that. Let me ask you this. How many times did an Instagram user who got this warning that you're seeing images of child sexual abuse, how many times did that user click on see results anyway? I want to see that.
Senator, I'm not sure if we stored that, but I'll personally look into this and we'll follow up after.
And what follow-up did Instagram do when you have a potential pedophile clicking on, I'd like to see child porn? What did you do next when that happened?
Senator, I think that an important piece of context here is that any context that we think is child sexual
Mr. Zuckerberg,
abuse,
that's called a question. What did you do next when someone clicked, you may be getting child sexual abuse images, and they click see results anyway? What was your next step? You said you might be wrong. Did anyone examine, was it in fact child sexual abuse material? Did anyone report that user? Did anyone go and try to protect that child? What did you do next?
Senator, we take down anything that we think is sexual abuse material on the service, and we do.
Did anyone verify whether it was in fact child sexual abuse material?
Senator, I don't know if every single search result we're following up on, but
did you report the people who wanted it?
Senator, do you want me to answer your question?
Yeah, I want you to answer the question I'm asking. Did you report the people who click see results anyway?
That's probably one of the factors that we use in reporting. And in general, I mean, we've reported more people and done more reports like this to NCMEC, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, than any other company in the industry. We proactively go out of our way across our services to do this, and have made, I think it's more than 26 million reports, which is more than the whole rest of the industry combined. So,
Mr. Zuckerberg, your company and every social media company needs to do much more to protect children. All right, Mr. Chu, in the next couple of minutes I have.
Is this not just amazing to you? And I hope that Senator Cruz and the other members of the Senate Judiciary Committee will hold Mark Zuckerberg, hold his feet to the fire, and follow up and make sure that he goes back and looks into this as he promised and presents them with the answers that they've asked to these questions. The company told the Wall Street Journal that it was exploring, quote, ways to actively defend against this behavior in a statement responding to the reporting. The company established an internal child safety task force back last year after the reporting, but it still has had difficulty resolving the issue, according to the Wall Street Journal. We'll keep a close eye on this one. Officials in New York from all parties are lining up to demand that a bunch of thugs who are in our country illegally and believe they can assault New York police officers and get away with it, that they should be deported. And even Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul seems to reluctantly agree that, yes, they should be returned from where they came from this time. Portions of today's show made possible by PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. If this is a year that you've set aside to get healthy, then let me encourage you to call right now, 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Just over 3.5 years ago now. Time flies. I started my journey with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. I lost 30 pounds. And I always mention the 30 pounds because when we start a weight loss journey, that's how we gauge the success of it, right? On how much weight we lose. The great thing about PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition is that over 3.5 years later, I've been able to maintain that weight loss. And that's the difference between PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition and some of the fad diets that you hear about. I want you to experience this same success. I promise you, if you call today, 864-252-4925, set up your appointment, and you get started in the program, within a few months, you too can be talking about losing 10, 20, 30 pounds or more. I have listeners who have lost 135 pounds. It has changed their life. It'll change yours as well. You'll feel better. You'll be able to focus. You'll be able to sleep better. You'll be able to do things you haven't been able to do in a long, long time. I want you to take care of yourself for once. Put yourself first. Call them today, 864-252-4925. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So here's the story. Republican politicos in New York are lining up to demand that a rowdy bunch of illegals who were caught on camera attacking two New York Police Department police officers in Times Square, that they be deported. As Governor Kathy Hochul said, that it's something that should certainly be looked at, she said. The Democrat governor, speaking to reporters after announcing the nomination of Stephen James as a New York State Police Superintendent yesterday, was asked about this shocking video showing these officers being beaten and whether the asylum-seeking suspect should be deported. Hochul replied, I think that's actually something that should be looked at. I mean, if someone commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York and they're not here legally, it's definitely worth checking into, she said. You think so? You think so, Governor? That we had a gang of illegals attacking two New York City police officers, and you think it needs to be looked at? They should be put on the next flight out of the country, a one-way ticket to wherever they came from. This is a no-brainer. This is not something you have to think about, Governor Hochul. Footage of the incident, this was on West 42nd Street, which is in that Times Square area, shows an NYPD officer and lieutenant telling a group of illegals to move along when a scuffle breaks out. The officers sustained kicks and punches as they attempted to wrestle some of the individuals to the ground. Hochul wasn't the only elected official weighing in on the deportation question. Staten Island Representative Nicole Malliotakis said that law that's prohibiting cooperation between NYPD and federal immigration enforcement, it just has to stop, she said. Republicans, independents, Democrats should at least be able to agree that if you're in this city and you're committing a crime, you have given up any opportunity to ever become a part of this citizenry, period. Bingo. Finally, somebody introducing a little common sense into the equation. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella agreed and said that the Big Apple should not have been surprised by the vicious migrant mob attack on two of New York's finest. Fossella said this is the fruit of the poisonous tree. We warned more than a year ago about letting all these migrants in. Now we're getting the worst of the worst. He said, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't deport these individuals immediately for assaulting our police officers. The Big Apple's sanctuary city status makes it illegal to notify U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement about criminal defendants, such as those charged in this Midtown cop beating. And that's what's crazy about this law. But the city doesn't provide sanctuary from prosecution for crimes including homicide, manslaughter, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, and human and sex trafficking, according to legal experts. Defense attorney Michael Bachner, a former Manhattan prosecutor, said New York City does not provide sanctuary from prosecution from various violent felonies. Assaulting an officer, that is the type of offense that I believe would be 100% subject to deportation. The immigration courts, they don't look kindly on assaulting law enforcement officials. So once their case concludes with either a plea, a conviction, or charges dropped, an immigration hold would typically be placed on these illegals, and they would be subject to deportation. Now listen to this. So police were able to arrest 5 of these men, and they were identified. All of them were arraigned on charges of second-degree assault on a police officer and obstruction of governmental administration. Now get this. They were then released without bail. Without bail. Are they nuts? First of all, they should have never been released. Secondly, certainly without bail. Officials say they're still looking for 3 of the other suspects. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office acknowledged that it did not request bail for the accused police officer for beating these police officers, but said prosecutors are still investigating and viewing new video footage of the attack. A spokesperson for Governor Hochul said that her office has communicated with Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office about the attack. The spokesperson said under existing state law, assaulting a police officer is a bail-eligible crime, and it's critical that district attorneys hold offenders accountable. Governor Hochul said she believes the lenient bail reform measures passed by Democrat lawmakers in Albany since 2019 are working overall, she says, but not satisfied at all with the handling of this attack. She said that situation is abhorrent to me. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who himself is a former NYPD captain, also condemned the attack. One of the charged illegals, Juan Boda, is seen in a photo that was in the New York Post. As he realized that a camera was nearby, he's seen giving the camera the middle finger as he walks out of the court. I mean, these people are just, they're thumbing their noses at us. At authorities. They know they can do this. They know they can literally beat a police officer and get away with it. A spokesperson for the mayor told the New York Post the men and women of the NYPD put their lives on the line every single day, working tirelessly to keep us and our streets safe. Violence of any kind, and no less against our officers, is unacceptable and should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Well, that we all agree with that, Mr. Mayor. So why aren't you doing it? Why are you letting these thugs back out on the street to maybe do something even worse next time? Reportedly, more than 170,000 illegals from the U.S. border have been brought into the 5 boroughs of New York, that Manhattan area, since the spring of 2022. Of course, we know that Texas and Arizona have been busing a lot of their illegals to the city because it is a sanctuary city. They say that more than 67,000 are housed in more than 200 city shelters and hotels. And over the past year, a handful have been tied to crimes including rape, murder, and pickpocketing. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Love to get your comments on the Firmin Ford text line. Is it time for states like New York to get serious with these thugs in our country? I mean, when I watched that video, and then when I saw that one particular Juan Boda literally holding up his middle finger to the camera, basically with that silly grin on his face, basically saying, "Hey, you can't do anything to me. I dare you." They should send him back to wherever he came from immediately. No questions asked. No due process. They don't have those rights. When you attack a police officer and you're here illegally, that is an automatic deportation. You agree? Send me a quick note on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-5639. You can also email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, running in the presidential primary, agrees with Texas Governor Greg Abbott and says that if the state of Texas wants to secede from the nation, they should be allowed to. Before we get into that, let me tell you about Firmin Ford. If you're looking to purchase a new vehicle, or if you would like a great pre-owned vehicle, or maybe you need service on your existing vehicle and you don't want to have to wait 2-3 weeks or months to get it done, it's more important than ever to support our locally run businesses, and Firmin Ford in Lawrence is one of those. What I love about Firmin Ford is you can walk into the lobby and most likely you're going to see either Matthew Firmin or Jim Firmin or both. When you call, when you email, when you stop by, you can have the opportunity to talk with a member of the Firmin family. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line with every single transaction. If you want to be taken care of, if you're shopping for a new vehicle, then there's no better place than Firmin Ford in Lawrence. If you need service on your vehicle, and you don't have to have purchased it at Firmin Ford, it doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. You can get this done at Firmin Ford. Find them online at firminford.com. Again, that's firminford.com. So if Texas decides it wants to secede from the U.S., Nikki Haley says they can do it. The former South Carolina governor downplayed the likelihood that the Lone Star State would actually choose to break away from the Republic, but insisted during an appearance on The Breakfast Club, which is a radio show, that secession is a right of the states.
States have the right to make the decisions that their people want to make. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do. In South Carolina, we said we didn't want Syrian refugees. We said we didn't want Guantanamo Bay prisoners. We said those things. I do think that laws should be made as close to the people as possible because it empowers the people. If Texas decides they want to do that, they can do that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that if that whole state says we don't want to be part of America anymore, I mean, that's their decision to make. But I don't think government needs to tell people how to live, how to do anything. I mean, I think that we need to let freedom live.
For once, I agree with something that Nikki Haley says. While the Constitution doesn't contain any provisions prohibiting a state from leaving the Union, it does not explicitly grant states the right to secede, according to the Daily Caller. Now, the issue was largely settled by the Union victory in the Civil War years ago, and the 1869 Supreme Court ruling Texas versus White, which affirmed that states cannot unilaterally secede from the U.S. Now, Haley went on to defend Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott's efforts to prevent illegal border crossing, including by putting up the razor wire along the border that the Supreme Court ruled could be cut down by federal authorities. Haley argued he has to protect Texans, and he has that right as governor. As you know, Haley will be, she's on the ticket here in South Carolina for the February 24th Republican primary. She is being, right now, she's trailing President Donald Trump by about 30 points, according to a Real Clear Politics average of polls. I was out yesterday and saw early voting signs up. So I guess early voting has started in South Carolina. I was really kind of surprised, but I guess that's the case. By the way, if you have the desire to see Nikki Haley, she's spending a lot of time in South Carolina these days as we lead up to the January 24th primary. According to the state newspaper, you can see her today at 1 o'clock in Columbia at Doc's Barbecue. She'll be headed on to Hilton Head Island for a meet and greet at 6 o'clock tonight, where at the Forest Fire Barbecue at 1 North Forest Beach Drive. She has a Lancaster rally on tomorrow, Friday, at Indian Land High School, and then Daniel Island, a Daniel Island rally at 6 p.m. on Sunday at the New Rim Brewing Company. So if you want to see Nikki Haley, those are 4 opportunities there. On the Firmin Ford text line, got a lot of notes for you today. Christy says, interesting use of words in the retraction, their assumption, so they assume their answers are truth. Yes, the original fact checkers have shown their hand. This in response to a story I told you about yesterday about Snopes correcting itself after it originally said that that Joe Biden was not wearing this construction hard hat backwards. He was called out and mocked because he had this construction hat on backwards. Snopes was asked about it, and they said nope. That he initially they said no, he was not. It was not on backwards. They were defending him. They got such a pushback that they had to correct their own original ruling. Pam says about the Oklahoma teacher bonuses. I heard that they were incentive bonuses to get teachers in hard-to-fill positions. And even though the teachers netted less than $30,000 after taxes, the school system wants the entire $50,000 back. Yes, they do. This was a story where school teachers were erroneously given $50,000 bonuses, and now the state wants their money back. Phil says, good morning, Joey. I sent you an email yesterday to bring to your attention the newest government Big Brother law, the Corporate Transparency Act, effective January 1st, 2024. Phil says, I'm available to discuss it over coffee. Phil, are you buying? I look forward to maybe seeing you. Texter says, now it looks as if Taylor Swift will be tangle bait for our young voting adults. What's next, Joey? So there's this whole conversation going on around Taylor Swift. Supposedly she supports Joe Biden. She's talked very positively about Joe Biden. And so the concern is that a bunch of these Swifties, which is what her fans, I guess, are called, are going to show up in mass and help reelect Joe Biden. I don't think we have anything to worry about as far as Taylor Swift fans. First off, this is a younger demographic. And sadly, but this is true, they don't vote. And even if Taylor Swift is telling them to go vote, they're not going to go vote. Now, I wish they would. I wish they would get engaged and be involved. But the reality is, and just look at the numbers, look at the historical numbers, and that age group, very few show up at the polls. So let's worry about something else. Than Taylor Swift's fans showing up to reelect Joe Biden. We still got to beat him. We got to hold his feet to the fire. Susan sent me a note, said that the Georgia legislature has just passed a bill requiring watermarks on this year's ballots to further ensure election integrity. The article that she sent me reports that State Representative John LaHood, he's a Republican in Valdosta, Georgia, proposed House Bill 976 to add watermarks to Georgia's ballots. The House voted 167-1 this week to approve the measure. Georgia ballots would be printed with a watermark for this year's presidential election under a bill that was passed and expected to be signed into law. The watermark would label both in-person and absentee ballots as, quote, official Georgia ballots, allowing election workers to quickly check their authenticity. Ballots are already printed on security paper that can be verified by an infrared scanner. This would just add an additional degree of safety. Adding watermarks to the ballots, they say, would be a one-time charge of $110,000. Money well spent. Jennifer sent me a note, and Jennifer was paying attention. I have to say that I get a lot of notes from Jennifer, and I love to get her text messages and her emails. And Jennifer, she really does pay she pays close attention. She says, Joey, it's a long message here. I apologize, but you won't need a meat cleaver to get through it. It's referencing James Carville. She said, the first thing I heard early for me this morning, January 31st, was your podcast. And I couldn't go back to sleep. It was Democrat political strategist James Carville talking to MSNBC talk show host Jen Psaki, describing his mafia-like meat cleaver plan to defeat Trump. Carville said Democrats should, quote, keep the foot on this guy, talking about Trump, of course, right on his neck, take our heel, and twist it. I played you that audio yesterday. If you missed that segment, just go back and listen to Just the Truth from yesterday, where James Carville does use this language that Jennifer is describing. She says, wasn't it a, quote, knee to the neck that triggered Democrat-supported riots who burned down American cities in 2020 following the death of George Floyd? You're right, Jennifer, it was. And that was the first thought that crossed my mind when Carville is talking about putting his foot to the neck of Donald Trump and twisting it. Jennifer says, you ask if this had been a Republican on Fox News, what do you think the response would have been? We know what the response would have been. Raging Cajun Carville and others would have attacked Republicans and maybe even tried to take them to court for such threatening, inflammatory talk. The question Republicans should ask is, what do you think the result of what James Carville said will be? How effective is James Carville? Jennifer goes on to write, effective enough to lead Democrat Bill Clinton to a White House victory over Republican Bush 1 in 1992. I think he intends to lead once again in the 2024 race. The world is on fire because the Biden administration has no strategy to save it, so that's not what Democrats will run on. They'll run on what brought them to the White House the last time, get Trump. And what is the Republican strategy to beat Democrats? The Trump card, ? Jennifer, thank you. Appreciate that. And hey, look, I don't care if your text or emails are long. I enjoy them. Ray says, hello, Joey. I wonder how many people understood that most of the money given to Ukraine doesn't go to Ukraine. The vast amount goes to Raytheon, Boeing, General Dynamics, my former employer, he says, and other defense contractors. This is why Lady Graham and other war hawks, Nikki, are so intent on more wars. We need someone not beholden to the military-industrial complex. Can you say Trump? I am all for Congress stopping all funding of Ukraine. I guess now I'm on the FBI's bad list. Oh, well, thanks for the great podcast. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate your feedback. Our text of encouragement today, your greatness is revealed not by the lights that shine upon you, but by the light that shines within you. God bless. Thank you for that. JR from Westminster, we heard from him. He left me a quick voice message yesterday.
This is JR from Westminster, South Carolina. You know, Nikki Haley is referring to President Trump's mental state as being one of diminished capacity. But I call her character into question. The fact that she said she would not run for president, and then she lied to the people of South Carolina and lied to the American public and did run. Her character is in question as a career politician. having ingratiated herself and now being a multimillionaire, I wonder that someone who sells themselves to the highest bidder at this level, what will they do if they were in the position as the chief executive of the United States of America? How much more trouble would this nation be in?
I think we can agree that JR is not a big fan of Nikki Haley, huh? Appreciate your comment there, JR. You too can leave a quick voice message when you call the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-5639. Just call and leave me a quick message. I love to get your voice messages. Of course, your text messages are welcome, as are your emails, joey@joeyhudson.com. The Biden administration is classifying some of the country's most elite and exclusive communities as, quote, low-income areas, which makes them eligible for electric vehicle charger subsidy programs. What are they going to think of next? They're trying to force us to buy electric vehicles. Of course, some of the rich and famous love the electric vehicles, but they need chargers. I'll tell you all about that in just a minute. It's an interesting article in the Daily Caller. Portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. If you need to purchase a new refrigerator, a dishwasher, maybe a washer and dryer, and if you're tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff who have no appliance knowledge, it's real simple. Just go to Discounted Appliance Warehouse because they have many different options, brands, features. They'll walk you through their 11,000 square foot warehouse and help you make the right decision, because appliances are pretty expensive and you can't afford to buy the wrong one. So let my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse help you make the right decision for you and your family. Head on over to Pickens. You can find them online as well at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. By the way, Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washers and dryers with up to a 7-year warranty on parts and labor. Take advantage of that as well. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, dawpickens.com. So the Daily Caller says that the Biden administration's EV charger tax credit program, which was made possible by the Inflation Reduction Act, which had nothing to do with reducing inflation. We've had that conversation before. Joe Biden's signature climate bill is specifically designed to route subsidies to, quote, low-income or non-urban areas of the country. These so-called low-income areas, that they put an emphasis on the eligibility in the spirit of the Biden administration's wider pursuit of the so-called environmentalist justice, which is effectively the combination of social justice ideology and green policy, the tree huggers. So we have numerous elite hangouts and those upper income communities like Montauk, New York, Fisher's Island, New York, parts of Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket in Massachusetts. These are some of the areas that the Biden administration has classified as low income. Therefore, they're eligible for receipt of EV charger subsidies. This according to the Daily Caller News Foundation and their analysis of the Department of Energy's interactive eligibility map. The deal or the goal of Biden is to build out a nationwide charging network to support the Biden administration's EV agenda. This charging infrastructure that currently exists is concentrated in wealthier, more densely populated coastal regions of the country, according to the Daily Caller. The Biden administration's tax credit program is designed to blunt the cost of charger construction, specifically in non-urban, less wealthy parts of the country that would be less likely to install them. Now, I don't completely understand this anyway, because if you have, well, first off, Martha's Vineyard is not a low-income area. But if they were truly designating low-income areas, why would you have a charger in a low-income area where people can't afford to buy electric cars anyway? The White House stated on January the 19th, this tax credit provides up to 30% off of the cost of the charger to individuals and businesses in low-income communities and non-urban areas, making it more affordable to install EV charging infrastructure and increasing access to EV charging in underserved communities. Again, who in these underserved communities, that's a buzzword that they use, can afford an electric vehicle to begin with? You see very many Teslas being driven through true low-income communities. So to meet the low-income definition, a given census tract must have a poverty rate of 20% or more. The Daily Caller says, alternatively, an area can qualify if the median family income is below 80% of the median family income in the wider metropolitan area of the state in which they're talking about. In practice, however, the latter definition for a low-income area enables places that may not be considered really low income to qualify for the credit by virtue of being located in a wealthy state or metropolitan area. And they gave some examples. Nearly half of the landmass of Nantucket Island, which is one of the ritziest summer vacation destinations in the New England area, is eligible for EV charger subsidies, according to the Department of Energy. Now, this makes sense because these areas want these chargers because you got a lot of these rich people up there driving around in their electric vehicles. But it's not it's not what this program was intended to do, and certainly it's a play on words for them to designate these areas as low income in order to give them the tax credits so that they'll put these chargers in. Some other examples. They talk about the Vineyard Haven area, Martha's Vineyard, which is another destination frequented by New England's upper crust. It's also eligible for the low-income status. And this is all, the Daily Caller shows you this on the Department of Energy's map. They have an interactive map, and you can just kind of move around the country and see these little pockets that are designated. The Daily Caller says, for context, many of the homes in the covered area are valued over $1 million, with several properties valued between $2 million and $5 million. And this particular area, Martha's Vineyard, is where former President Barack Obama owns a $11.7 million estate on the island. What do you want to bet that Obama probably has one of these tax credit subsidized EV chargers at his home, or at least right outside of his compound? They go on to show other large pockets of Cape Cod, which has been deemed by the Biden administration as eligible for the low-income EV subsidies as well. This area includes Hyannis, the longtime home of the Kennedy family, and Great Island, which features numerous multi-million-dollar properties. You think the Kennedys need a subsidy for an electric charger? They also go on to say that the entire area of Fisher's Island, New York, is deemed a low-income area eligible for these subsidies, and the list goes on. I mean, the Fisher's Island, that's where historically families like the Roosevelts, the Rockefellers, and the DuPonts have gone on vacation in the summer, according to the New York Post. This Montauk, New York area. Montauk is the very tip end of Long Island. It, too, is a very well-to-do area, but yet on the Biden Department of Energy map, it's considered, quote, low income. Some of the property valuations in the low-income zone of Montauk are like $17 million for one estate. Zillow has values of other homes in the area of $10 million, $6 million. About the most affordable home in that area is a $2 million home. But yet the Biden administration says that they should be eligible to receive these tax incentives to buy these chargers. And they go on to talk about areas of New York City, like the Upper East Side, which is one of the wealthiest areas of New York City. And conveniently, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where Joe Biden's summer residence is, it too qualifies for subsidies. There's several, they list several West Coast areas as well around Los Angeles, San Francisco. I mean, who knows? You may get lucky. There may be a subsidized EV charger coming to your neighborhood soon. Compliments of Joe Biden. Does this make your blood boil like it does mine? They don't even try to hide it anymore. The fact that they are using our money to subsidize these wealthy areas so they can have charging stations for their Teslas. Now, I'm sorry, if you own a Tesla, that's your prerogative. Good for you. I just don't want to subsidize you buying, being able to buy a charger for something that you made a choice to purchase. You agree? Love to get your feedback on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. You agree with that there's no place for these subsidies in these quote so-called low-income areas, which are actually very affluent, rich areas? Am I losing my mind here? 864-477-5639. That's it for today's Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list, I remind you every day. I'm going to remind you again. Visit joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Just search for Joey Hudson on YouTube and be sure and subscribe to my channel and click on the notifications as well so that you're notified. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line and via email, joey@joeyhudson.com. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, folks, God's in control.